Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, and in today's video, we're gonna kick the summer off with 10 new interesting Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck ideas that you can build. It's summer, the meta's kind of boring, so you might be looking to try something new, and these are all great suggestions. I'm gonna briefly explain each one. But first, I do want to talk one more time about Duel Amino. It's a mobile app, it's on iOS, it's on Android, and basically it's just a Yu-Gi-Oh! Social network. So think something like Facebook or Reddit, except entirely Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans. It's actually really cool. It has news, it has articles that people submit. You can do polls, you can check out chat rooms. There's loads of cool fun stuff that you can do in the app, and I'm actually on the app. My name is Team APS. You can follow me on there and see all the stuff I've posted, see other stuff that other people have posted. It's actually just a really good, fun time. So if you're interested in that, remember to check out the description for the links to all of it. Anyway, let's get on with the video. So I'm actually going to be going in something of a reverse order. So we're going to start with the two interesting, cool new decks from Shining Victories, Amorphages and Lunar Lights. So these are both decks that I don't think anybody really sees them as like meta threats, at least not right now, but they're actually both really cool to me. So Amorphages, some people may or may not like them, but it's a slower anti-meta strategy. It's a bunch of pendulum monsters that, while they're in the pendulum zones, prevent players from basically doing things. It might be, players can't activate spell cards or can't activate traps or can't, use monster effects, things like that. And when they're on the field, they actually even prevent like special summons from the extra deck if it's not Morph Age monsters. The weakness, of course, is that the pendulum monsters, when they're in their scales, have to have a monster be tributed during into your standby phases, I believe. So that can make them a little bit tough to maintain, but their spell and trap support actually gives you pluses and benefits when the monsters are tributed. It's cool because Konami always takes like I'm always surprised at the new ways Konami finds to create an anti-meta deck, because while it's easy to make a new crazy explosive OTK that does it in some weird crazy way, making a deck that just sort of halts the pace of the game and controls things and slows it all down seems really tough. But like with PSY Frames and other stuff before it, this deck actually does a really good job of it. So while it's not the best thing out there, none of the decks in this list really are. It's really fun. It's another alternative take on the pendulum strategy, so I really advise you to check it out. Next is Lunar Lights. So, Lunalights. So these are basically beast warriors, so tanky, red flag, that fuse, and they just swing over things in battle. Now, the kind of cool thing that I noticed about these guys, they've got some pendulum monsters, like I guess everything does now, but they actually do a lot of their searching from the graveyard, which is weird. They don't actually search all that much from the deck, so it's kind of an inverse searching thing, which actually creates this cool dynamic, because since you're going to be using fusion summoning a lot with these, and yes, they can search polymerization, and there are lots of other ways to do that too, you can actually just get back a lot of the materials that you use for fusion summons really often, and continue to fuse and continue to fuse and continue to fuse, and these things can actually deceptively OTK quite fast. So if you read their effects, a lot of them can get piercing and attack multiple times and not destroy things by battle, and then like attack again or attack all your opponent's monsters, and it's actually a really crazy fun strategy, so definitely implore you to give it a look. Next is Phantom Knights. Now hear me out. I know that people hate PK Fire and Burning Abyss, but Phantom Knights themselves are actually a conceptually pretty cool deck. Now the problem here is that they aren't necessarily budget, because there's this little thing called Break Sword, but the cool part about Phantom Knights is that while Break Sword is, I would say, necessary, you can try to find a way to sell some body part and get a copy, but even if you don't have Break Sword, the deck's actually still a lot of fun. You can combine it with Burning Abyss, but you can also combine it with things like Dark World, and it's any other sort of generic sort of dark strategy, and they just banish themselves from the grave to get more special summons, more searches. They have Fog Blade, which is their own sort of themed Fiendish Chain, and they've got ways to revive themselves from the graveyard. I actually really like the entire strategy, and you can make Dark Xyz monsters that even get, other cool effects and buffs. So it's definitely one that I would give a look to. This actually sort of starts the Wing Raiders series of archetypes. So you can probably guess that the next one is Super Quantums. Probably the, I don't want to say like least relevant of them, because it actually got used in Monarchs quite a bit, but Super Quantums, really cool theme. These guys make their own boss monsters, and their boss monsters are generic, and any deck can make them, but if Super Quantums make them, their boss monsters, these Xyz, get a lot of really powerful effects, and when they bring out their super huge boss monster, Great Magnus, it's basically sort of, you know how like every archetype's getting like a towers these days? It's their towers. So Super Qualms is cool. I would say that it's kind of one of the more themed archetypes. So like running on this list, it's not that much of a competitive threat on its own, but it's based on Power Rangers, so who doesn't like that? And next is Raidraptors. So Raidraptors have actually been out for quite a while, but I included them with the Wing Raiders list because if you actually buy like Wing Raiders packs or a box or something, you'll get pretty much all the Raidraptor support you need. Now Raidraptors started out as sort of a deck that was just about searching each other and just making Xyz monsters rank 4s most of the time. Nowadays I actually feel that it's kind of more of a rank up deck, and in Shining Victories they finally got their Ultimate Falcon, which is effectively their tower, is surprisingly easy to summon. But Raidraptors are cool. If you were into Black Wings, or at least a theme of Black Wings before, this is actually probably a perfect logical pick for you. But Raidraptors are really cool. You can play them in a rank up variety, or you can just play them as an engine that just churns out rank 4 monsters really fast and still gets the support of things like Swallow's Nest and Icarus Attack if you want to add that in. So the two other recent ones from Breakers of Shadow, Dinomist. It actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Amorphages, but Dinomist are basically another anti-meta kind of slow it down style pendulum deck, so they can, you know, pendulum summon each other out really quickly and over and over and over. But their pendulum monsters, instead of stopping your opponent from playing, just provide support for your existing Dinomist monsters, which I think is actually super cool. Like, so, you know, it might be protection from targeting or protection from destruction. They send themselves to the graveyard to stop this, but since they're not actually going to the grave, they're going to the extra deck, they'll be coming back, and so really neat, interesting pendulum strategy. It's just like, it's kind of one of the more basic ones, so it's a little bit more simple if that's what you're looking for, but it's still pretty interesting. And also Shiranui is a zombie archetype that for once doesn't have pendulums attached to it. That's pretty cool. They get effects when they're banished, which I know a lot of things kind of have, they use a banish thing now. But Shiranui, they can swarm. They actually make synchro monsters instead of you know, just pendulum summoning all day long. So they're a really cool one. Thematically, I quite like them. It's sort of these spirits of samurai. Makes me think it's like samurai. It's sort of these like samurai spirits, and it's a zombie deck, and you can use it with a lot of the existing zombie support like Book of Life and Zombie Master, Goblin Zombie, Plague Spreader, the works. Next is Majespecters. Now this actually is probably a really unpopular opinion, and there's actually a certain card that's pretty expensive in this deck, boom boom boom. But Majespecters, some people thought they'd be meta, and some people really, you know, hate the deck. But it's yet another one of those kind of slower pendulum decks. The cool thing is it didn't really end up being meta, it kind of got written off. Nowadays it's just Bunbuku and like Kirin as an engine in a lot of decks, but Majespecters on their own merits are actually pretty interesting. You can use the spell and traps that are super easy to search. You can use the spell and traps to really pin your opponent down and keep them controlled. You can get rid of their monsters very easily, and the only real thing you have to fear is back row, and Majespecters can't be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's stuff, and they just keep coming out, and then you can make like all these really neat, you know, like wind only Xyz like Totem Bird, and really it's Xyz like Chidori also in general. So it's a really cool, fun strategy. It's got its weaknesses. It's a little bit slow. You know, it's a little bit over-reliant sometimes on like its back row, but the cool part is that Majespecters are surprisingly cheap to get. Most of them actually aren't expensive, so if you can, like with, I guess, Break Sword, sell some part of your body to Science or something, you can actually get Bunbukus and try this deck out, and I wouldn't be surprised if the card gets reprinted pretty soon. Probably in a Mega 10. And we're going to end with some archetypes from High Speed Riders, Speedroids. So Speedroids make perfect sense, High Speed Riders, but the cool part about them is that they're actually techable in a lot of decks. So I've actually seen Speedroids used largely in Burning Abyss because, you know, sort of a quick rank 3 engine, but they can make synchros, their own synchros, believe it or not. And it's a cool win strategy. You can kind of combine it with some win support. You can make Xyz or synchro strats, so I like that aspect of the deck. And the second one is PSY Frames, which are also from High Speed Riders. This is another unpopular probably pick, but PSY Frames, although people don't like them, are a really powerful deck in their own right. They are another interesting take on anti-meta where they thrive off of actually not doing anything. So as long as their field is empty, they can negate things that the opponent does and then actually make these powerful synchros like PSY Frame Zeta and the expensive one, Cypher Mode Omega, and control the duel from there. So while people don't like the deck, it's actually really unique and worth a try if you're the type of player who likes that sort of thing. I'm not condoning it, but well, I did include in this video, so whatever. Who cares? Go ahead and try it. And a couple of honorable mentions really quickly. Blue Eyes just came out in Shining Victories, so it's kind of a retro thing you can get into. There's also the digital bugs from Shining Victories, which I didn't include because I felt like they don't have quite enough support and like numbers to make a full deck, but it's something worth looking at too. And then there's always stuff like Kaiju, because that continues to get support like every single set. So yeah, those are some of the decks that you should try out this summer, because the meta is a bit stale, it is a bit stagnant, but these are fun strategies that you may want to take a look at. Most of them are not expensive, and they all provide a variety of playstyles. So you know, you're bound to find something that you like in here. So those are the 10 decks that I recommend trying out for the summer. They're fun, they're diverse, they're interesting, and some of them are cheap. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and also recommend some other cool, recent, fun decks in the description, or maybe some hybrids, since a lot of things seem to go well together these days, like Great Old Kaiju and stuff like that. And the Draco Slayers all just end up in like every other archetype. So make maybe some suggestions in the comments. And also, if you'd like, you can buy a Team APS Playmat. There's a link to buy it in the description. It supports me lots. And I'm also giving away a box of Shining Victories this month, provided by TCG Player. So if you want to give that, if you want to win that giveaway, you can have a chance to do that also in the description below. That's the video for today. Subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.